Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. So one of the craziest, or should I say stupidest things, just happened in Arizona. The City Council of San Luis, Arizona voted 4-3 to appoint a woman named Gloria Torres as vice mayor. This happened last month, but it's being reported on now. And you might be wondering, Kara, what is the big deal here? Well, Torres even got the approval of the outgoing vice mayor, and she served as a councilwoman for over 20 years. So again, what's the problem? Well, the problem is this. Torres pleaded guilty to charges related to illegal ballot harvesting in none other than the 2020 elections, in this case, the Arizona primary elections. You honestly can't make this stuff up. Republicans complain about ballot stuffing and illegal ballot harvesting without skipping a beat or batting an eye. Democrats appoint one as vice mayor in a key swing state. I don't know, it's a bold strategy for Democrats, especially as this year's election is bound to be even crazier than 2020's was. So you've heard my submission for the Everything is Stupid weekly wrap-up. Now it's time to hear what the head cheese of this whole enterprise has for us. So without further ado, joining us now with his first Everything is Stupid weekly wrap-up of the new year is author and supply chain consultant Jim Nels. Jim, thanks for being here tonight. What do you have for us this Friday?
Hey, Kara, hopefully I have a nice Gouda or maybe a nice goat cheese as the head cheese here. But anyway, New Year's greetings from the Everything is Stupid studios here in the People's Republic of Chicago. You know, as you just said, 2024 is but a few days old, but the stupidity is already off the charts. I actually think I could do a year in review segment already, but I really shouldn't get that far ahead of myself. Anyway, Kara, we've got a lot to cover, so let's jump right in. Like you, let's start with politics, but I'll start with President Biden's amazing interview on ABC's New Year's Eve program. In a hard-hitting interview conducted from the president's free vacation home in St. Croix, Ryan Seacrest asked the president what food he likes and what food he's been eating. The president replied, "I've been eating everything that's put in front of me. Oatmeal, mashed bananas, mashed potatoes, peas, you know, anything soft." Then the first lady had to remind the president that he also had been eating ice cream. "Chocolate chip ice cream," screamed the president, who was then patted on the head by Dr. Jill and given a cookie. Speaking of Dr. Jill, the greatest doctor since Dr. J, Dr. Dre, and Dr. Drew, look at that dress she's wearing in the interview. It looks like someone ate a bunch of Skittles, Lucky Charms, and Fruity Pebbles and then threw up on her. It's gross. Now, polling numbers for the president are also dismal, starting with the number of people who believe that his election was illegitimate. 1/3 of voters say that President Biden's election was illegitimate, an increase from the same poll in 2021. The Washington Post University of Maryland poll found that 36% of voters surveyed say that the president was not legitimately elected. That's up from 29% in 2021. 1/3 of respondents, that's 33% for those playing at home, say that there is solid evidence of widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election. Now, when questioned about the numbers by the Everything is Stupid investigative team, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, the greatest press secretary in the history of press secretaries, replied, "No, you don't understand. The president is upset that more people don't believe he cheated. The president has always lived by the motto of NASCAR, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying." Speaking of the press, she had a very bizarre answer when asked about the national debt, which, Kara, is now over $34 trillion. KJP stated, "Republican tax cuts are responsible for 90% of the increase in the debt, 90%. That is something that Republicans are responsible for. The president put forth legislation like lowering the deficit by $1 trillion, and that's part of lowering prescription drug costs and cracking down on wealthy tax cheats." Now, when reporters pointed out that under President Biden, the debt has increased by $10 billion per day, and that the tax cuts under President Trump actually led to increased tax revenue, with the federal government collecting a record $4.9 trillion in taxes in 2022, KJP just abruptly ended the press conferences, hopped on her broom, and flew away. But KJP isn't the only member of the president's inner circle who has issues with facts and figures. On Wednesday, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas blamed Texas Governor Greg Abbott for the thousands of migrants pouring into blue cities and states across the country when asked why the administration's border policies are failing. He stated, "Let me identify one fundamental problem here, and that is the fact that we have one governor in the state of Texas who is refusing to cooperate with other governors and other local officials." Governor Abbott, to his credit, has flown or bused nearly 100,000 illegals to sanctuary cities such as New York, Washington, Chicago, Philly, Denver, and Los Angeles.